Good evening, friends and neighbors. My name is Terry Carter, and I am a writer and a poet. I also have the privilege of directing elder services here at our beloved West Medford Community Center. Welcome to our 13th monthly presentation of First Friday's Words in Music. We are up and running again and had a great first show of the new season in August, highlighting the Lakota Youth Stay program on the word side and the earthy blues and soul of Elliot Johnson's J Street Band for the musical component of the evening, and it was a raucous evening. So we remain on hiatus with Medford Cable Access while they orient their technical staff and look to get live programming back up and running. However, we are videotaping tonight's program to upload to YouTube as soon as we can. And many of our prior programs are already available there, and the online response has been pretty good, both on the words and the music side. We continue to be excited about the present and the future of this program, and we hope you are too. We're glad that you're here with us. As is our custom, we're opening tonight's program on the word side with a familiar topic that hits really close to home. To be more specific, this home, the West Medford Community Center, we're calling the discussion WMCC 101. And the subtitle is, In Case You Didn't Know, Now You Know. We're here, as our outreach has suggested, to explore the ways in which this community has been connected for the better part of 70 years to this amazing plot of land at 111 Arlington Street. At times, an important resource and historical point of reference, and at other instances, a source of solidarity and identity by which people of color defined what it meant to be a unique and singular part of this city, which most of us now call home. Joining us for the discussion this evening is a bunch of folks with a lot of skin in the game, so to speak, and a healthy affection for this noble institution. But before we introduce them to you, let me offer just a bit of history about the Community Center. The roots of the West Medford Community Center go back to 1935 and arose from two areas of concern. The first was the recognized need for the African American community, which had established itself in West Medford to take care of ourselves. Men's groups, women's groups, young people's clubs, and church clubs were organized to provide a range of social, religious, and recreational activities. At that time, the church was the only building that allowed large gatherings of African Americans. But church space was seen as inadequate and too limited to meet the needs for all of these activities. The second area of concern was a growing desire to have an organized voice to deal with issues of civic and social justice. Early in the development of this organization, its original incorporators, a group of exclusively African American men, made the decision to adopt an all-inclusive policy to reach all of our objectives. This meant that membership and services would not be exclusively restricted to African Americans, and that women would be a meaningful part of all the decision-making. The organization would continue to recruit active members from the West Medford neighborhood, but the work and services of the center would be intended to improve the lives of all who lived in the Mystic River community. In 1940, a piece of land was secured in the heart of West Medford at 111 Arlington Street. The members of the community center at that time dug out a basement for the building and constructed a wooden structure to be the home of the organization. That was the first building. After World War II, returning African American veterans, including some that still live here in the community, secured a surplus Army Services barracks, also known as a Quonset hut. It was a larger sheet metal structure, and those men volunteered to reconstruct this building on the original site here on Arlington Street, and that replaced the original structure. In 2007, the new community center building, the one that you're sitting in right now, was opened, replacing the old Army barracks with a spacious building right by Duggar Park in the Mystic River. So you're in the third building now, the third iteration of the West Medford Community Center, and we hope that it will be here for years and years and years to come. Okay, that's where we came from. Now to talk a bit about where we are and where we're going, let me introduce our panel guests. To my right, your left, is Celia Lee. She's a mechanical engineer and an artist who resides in Medford with her family. She is on the Medford Art Center Incorporated board and works on their two projects, Marv, the Artmobile, and Mystic Makerspace. Marv has been here at the community center. In her spare time, do you have spare time? She designs metal and glass woven jewelry that often incorporates mechanical elements. She has been leading a jewelry making workshop on Wednesday evenings here at the center for the past several weeks. And I can always tell when she's been here because when I come in the morning, there are beads rolling around on the floor when I sweep. Besides teaching workshops at Mystic Makerspace, she is a strong STEM advocate who teaches classes and workshops to students in Medford and Malden. Celia previously worked as a mechanical engineer on the International Space Station and in the 3D CAD, that's computer-assisted design, aided design industry. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. And to my left, your right, is Judy Scribner. And Judy has been practicing yoga and meditation since 1972, yoga since 1981, and teaching both since 1987. In addition to her yoga training and personal practice, which she puts to good use here at the community center, she has a degree in human development and experience as a visual artist, an athlete, and a mother. These things inform her classes and enable her skill at guiding students with vivid imagery and clear instruction. Her teaching is grounded in a firm belief that the practice of yoga enables us to be more fully present for both the challenges and the joys of living. That's really nice. And to Judy's left is Brian Collins, and he's no stranger to most of the folks here. He's the president of the West Medford Community Center Board of Directors and a lifelong member of this community. Having grown up here, he and I both, as a matter of fact, and been a fixture of WMCC life for as long as I can remember, there's a lot that he can say about this institution. Brian is a computer sciences professional with Draper Labs. He's also a member of the West Medford Community Spirit. He's newly elected to the board of the Medford Arts Center and is one of the principal architects of the biannual West Medford reunion. Thanks for being here, Brian. Okay, and to my right, a little further out, is Eleanor Sugarman. And Eleanor is the teacher director of the Gentle Dragon Preschool here at the center and is the school's heart and soul. During her tenure, which began in 1992, the school became an integral part of Medford's Community Partnership Program and became accredited by the NAEYC. She knows what that is, I don't. Established in 1985, Gentle Dragon Preschool is a parent cooperative school for 13 children ages 2.9 through 5 years. It offers a warm, engaging, and creative environment that balances free play and structured activities like art, puzzles, role-playing, and music. They encourage inclusive play, problem-solving, making friends, and understanding community. They value natural curiosity and the joy of discovery. And I will tell you, it has been one of the joys of my seniors program, I direct elder services, to have her youngins strolling about the community center, making noise and making friends. Bill Hager, On the far right has been the executive director of the WMCC since 2015? Is it 2015? 16. 16. Okay. During his tenure, the activities, programs, and partnerships that connect to 111 Arlington Street have been diverse, well-developed, and professionally executed. The reputation of the center as a welcoming place where the history of the neighborhood is preserved and celebrated, while the changing dynamics of the community are meaningfully accommodated, has become a source of new pride for the folks who live around here. Bill makes the trek down from Wells, Maine, at least 5 days every week to do this work, which he has already grown a great love for. Okay? Okay, okay. So as has become my tradition in starting these conversations, I want to offer a bit of verse to season the discussion. I wrote this piece a while back to pay homage to growing up in West Medford and the notion of a true village as the historical legacy of the black community in Medford. I believe it works for some of the places we want to go this evening, so come with me. I'm a poet, and this is what I do. Neighborhood is a place where mothers buy extra food for kids that aren't even their own, on the premise that they will eventually show up at the door hungry. Neighborhood is grandmas and grandpas that raise their children's children long after they've raised their own, lovingly, carefully, happily, long after they've raised their own. Neighborhood is a corner bodega where that nice Spanish man always gave you 10 cents worth of penny candy when all you ever had was a nickel. Neighborhood is the homeowner that doesn't look down his nose at the frazzled renter with the Section 8 and a few kids without a daddy. Neighborhood is a block party that everyone comes to and nobody calls the cops. No drugs, no guns, no drama. Kool and the Gang, Earth, Wind and Fire, Rick James, Tina Marie, and Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan. Neighborhood knows everybody's name, but isn't collecting big data on anyone. Keeps tabs on strangers, but doesn't discriminate or judge folk by color or caste or custom. Neighborhood keeps pies and cookies ready to welcome newcomers and always has something to invite folk to and always has something good to eat when you get there. Neighborhood loves all of its children, watches out for all the babies, disciplines fairly, drops dimes liberally, daps up consistently, and marches for justice dutifully. Neighborhood cares for its sick with homemade chicken soup, ginger tea, flowers, cards, and pastoral visits. Never lets you feel lonely, never leaves you alone. Neighborhood laments the losses of its kings and queens reverently, even while it celebrates their lives jubilantly and recollects their waves permanently. Neighborhood has well-worn welcome mats and four-way stop signs, a community gathering place as the hub of the wheel, and nicknames like the Port, the Coast, and the Ville. Neighborhood says yes more than it says no, chooses love over hate, never cries when it should laugh, and never laughs when it should cry. Neighborhood understands the importance of respect, covers everyone with an umbrella, shovels snow for its elders, pronounces your name right, and picks up the poop left by all its dogs, small, medium, and large. And no matter where you go, neighborhood is always the place you call home. All right. All right. Let me just make sure I get us back to the right place. Okay, so thank you very much. This conversation is indeed about the history of a neighborhood. From the elder photos in the African American Remembrance Project that adorn these walls to the bricks that are laid out in the portico, we are a product of race, work, service, tradition, and reinvention. We're going to take a bit of time to talk about what we are and why we do what we do. So I had this all worked out. I had this nice 6-word framework around which I wanted to build our discussion tonight. And each of you, based on your background and relationship with the center, was going to have a word to wrap your opening remarks around. The words we were going to focus on are collaboration, wellness, continuity, creativity, engagement, and mission. But I lost one of my people, so now I've got 6 words and only 5 people. And I was told that there wasn't going to be any math. but anyways, I think we'll still be able to make it work. So I want to get the discussion started with Bill Hager. Bill, you took on the leadership of the Community Center in 2016, and you were tasked with a number of things. Please talk a little bit about your sense of the mission you were embracing and directing the operations of this historical organization.
Our mission is in our name, which is that we are a community center. The mission that I was given was to bring the community center into the 21st century. Mm-hmm. Community building is more important now than ever before. Okay. Although organizations like the community center are fewer and far between as compared to where it was 20, 30 years ago when many communities had something that was called a community center. Mm-hmm. The beauty of bringing people together for any purpose is that it is both a political, it is a social, and it is a spiritual act to bring people together. If you can bring people together across the arbitrary lines of gender, of race, of ethnicity, and of age, of generations, that's a profound political, social, and spiritual act.
Absolutely.
The reason we're coming together can be anything, but if we gather together, we are better for it. In trying to keep things short, which is really hard for me because over-talking is kind of my thing. But we needed to reinvent the community center for the 21st century, which is to say that the idea of a pool table and a stereo being enough and people would drop in and build community. That's still a beautiful vision, but it's not what's going to work today. Mm-hmm. So we have to find reasons for people to leave their television, their computer screen, their iPad, their iPhone at home and come and be with other human beings.
Yes.
If we are, science tells us that we are both healthier, happier, and more productive. Mm-hmm. And the last thing I'll say, and then I will shut up for now, it's hard.
I'm going to come back to you.
Okay. But that whether you come at the idea, I say this a lot, this is my elevator speech, whether you approach the idea of building community from a spiritual or from a scientific point of view, if you come from the church or you come from the university, you come to the same conclusion, that we as human beings are hardwired to be with other human beings, in the flesh, in person, face to face.
Okay.
And increasingly in our modern world, we don't have that opportunity, we don't take that opportunity. So that is, as I perceive, our mission and our goal and our work.
Fantastic, fantastic. So why don't you hand the mic to Celia. Thanks, Bill. Okay, so Celia, as a more recent friend of the program, and you are indeed that, can you speak a bit about creativity as a strong value of both the city of Medford and the community center that you've been doing some things with, including the kinds of things you've been doing and what you've been a part of over the past few years?
Okay, so creativity is a big part of my life, like you. I mean, I'm a mechanical engineer, but I always focused on design, whether it was designing mechanics or designing the way something looked. So it's important to me, and I also believe that everybody has creativity in them, and it's important for them to discover it. And a lot of time in the classes, for example, the jewelry classes I've been running, the people who come, they say, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to make. So I give them something to follow, but the real reward is when they take it further and create something of their own imagination. And in terms of Medford, I think I was just at another event actually in Malden, but we were talking about how there's a lot of creative energy in Medford. There's a lot of organizations, but we don't have places to demonstrate that creativity. I mean, so we've started to use here, which is great.
Yeah.
It's been a good collaboration for us. And there's talk of some other places in Medford that, you know, might materialize. But I think all the artists in Medford are just trying to find their own way, you know, develop their community somehow. And this is a good space for that.
Absolutely. Fantastic, fantastic. All right, so I want to go to a slightly different place. Brian, I'm going to have you hand the mic to Judy. And I'm Judy, from a wellness perspective. Tell us about your program here at the Community Center and how a community that embraces fitness and healthy lifestyle activities benefits collectively.
Well,
well, why don't you start with where you are in terms of the yoga and the meditation activities
Okay.
that you do here.
so my specialty is yoga for healthy aging and providing opportunity for people to be embodied in this vehicle of the body that we've been given.
Okay.
So it's a very gentle practice in which we do a lot less doing and provide opportunity for being. So we do a lot of, Bill talked about iPhones and iPads, and you know, we live in a culture in which we're very much forward-oriented. Our activity is even more now hovering over steering wheels, kitchen sinks, iPhones. So we do a lot of just draping. In fact, my 24-year-old son, who just moved out of home, accused me lately of being a serial drapist.
Oh, my. Oh, wow.
Because generally when I come home from a long drive, because I teach all around in addition to at the community center, I usually come home and roll up a blanket and just drape and give myself a chance to open up and just pause, really, from the incessant doing.
Yeah.
And it's trite, but we're human beings, not human doings.
Okay.
So I do my best to provide opportunity in my classes for people to really just pause and feel what's happening in their body and connect that to what's happening in their minds and their hearts. And I have a belief that there is an innate intelligence that we all have access to, but we often just need to pause and find that. And you know, my practice arose from having a history of lots of back issues and giving up activities, sports activities that I loved, and because of back problems. And so it's been a pleasure for me to share, you know, how I got my own health back, mostly from taking the time to feel what was going on before it became a chronic issue. So the body has messages for us. We have an innate intelligence, but we often just have to pause and listen to it, and you know, not necessarily wait for chronic issues to speak really loudly before we address them. And you know, as far as community, you know, I think it becomes apparent when we pause and we become embodied and we sense that there are other people around us embodied and sharing this space and sharing this breath, that we are all one. And as we care for ourselves, we care for the whole. Most of my students, which I think is true for most yoga classes, are women, and women, I think, tend to care for other people much more easily, readily than we care for ourselves.
Okay.
So
I know
to
that.
know that we, as we care for ourselves, we're much more able to care for other people. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. I was getting ready to go into a deep meditative state. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, so Brian, I know that one of your top priorities as president of the Census Board has been to cultivate a spirit of engagement among all the folks in the Ville. That's West Medford for those of you that are new to the program, while at the same time honoring the historical importance of the center as a gathering place for the neighborhood. Would you talk a little bit about engagement and the kinds of things that you wanted to do?
Absolutely. In terms of engagement, in going back to your poem, I grew up in your poem. I really relate to your poem, and somehow that engagement here at the community center, when the building was torn down in like 1997, that engagement seemed to have evaporated.
Yeah.
So when the center was rebuilt, the board was reconstituted, we've been on a mission to try to get everyone back to that center that you so eloquently elaborated.
Thank you.
So, for instance, the girls' basketball program was one of the ways that we can inculcate some of the new families to the community. Number one, teach girls a skill that typically, at least here in this community, no one has taken the time to teach girls the skill.
That's right.
And the boys have dominated the basketball court for the past 100 years.
That's right.
So, so getting the new families here, getting people engaged in the community center, because the kind of things we do with girls' basketball program is the kind of things that happened here when I grew up. So that's one of the ways that we're trying to rekindle that engagement here.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's interesting because you and I have that shared experience, and I was a little bit older than you, but not much. We were basically in the same generation of kids passing through. And Bill, said something interesting earlier about having a pool table and a ping pong table, and that really being enough. And we had a pool table and a ping pong table here in this building when I first came on board, and the kids weren't even using it. And we fought and killed to get on the ping pong table and the pool table, because the older kids, they were bumping us out left and right.
That's right.
But to hear you talk about the girls' basketball program in particular, and I know how successful it's been, so successful, in fact, that they're, a competing interest in the community for, staging events. So, you got something good when you get some competition.
And not only that, one of the ways we could tell it's a success, because probably people haven't seen her in this community. The girls go out there by themselves and play basketball. So, we used to do that as boys, but now the girls after school, they'll get in contact with each other. They say, let's meet at the park, and you'll drive by the park, and the girls will be playing a full court basketball game, all girls. Yeah. And it's not organized. It's sui generis, all by themselves. Yeah. And that's one of the ways we could tell it has been a success.
Never saw it before.
Never saw it before. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, Bill, I'm going to have you jump back in here. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I actually meant I want to go to Eleanor. It's a little over a year, Eleanor, that you've been here with Gentle Dragon? Okay. And it's the preschool here in the WMCC. And I've heard a number of the parents in your co-op talk about finally feeling like they have a home. Can you talk a little bit about the collaboration that you feel you have with the center now?
Oh, well, we were I guess actually since, as you said, the early 80s, we were at the West Medford Congregational Church, which is now the Evangelical Church on High Street. And we lost our lease there a few years ago, so we spent a few years searching for a new home. We found a temporary home in Winchester, but we knew it was only temporary. And we were still searching, and we were still searching, and then we found out that there was a space opening up here, and we were thrilled because this is where I wanted to be. I wanted so much to bring the school back to Medford, and to be right here in the heart of West Medford. It really felt like we were finally bringing the school to a wonderful location. We have a sunny classroom on the second floor. We have Duggar Park. I choose to take the kids out for the walk to the park this way and go out the front of the building and down the street rather than go out behind and over the field. And the reason is because it's safer this way. There's a sidewalk, but also we're getting to know a couple of neighbors as we go by every day. And people smile and wave. We know the woman who has the garden down at number 90 and number 91, and we set our butterflies free there. And we know lots of kids at the Duggar Park from other daycare programs in the neighborhood too. We know their names, they know us, they come running over to our stroller with all of our stuff on it. But it's really wonderful to come back and have the seniors having lunch, and we all come in, everybody says hi to the kids and hi to the kids, and it's just a very welcoming place for us, and we really love being here. It's just one of our hopes also, eventually, is to find some way to have some kind of a garden that both the seniors and the kids can contribute to. So,
all right. That's not an unreasonable expectation.
Yeah, I think that would be
Very
lovely
good,
to
very
have.
good. Well, I will say for myself, in terms of being, the director of Elder Services, it is one of the pleasures of the seniors to see the kids come through. And, and there are some that are a little bit shy, but there are some that step right up and announce they're coming in no uncertain terms. When they come in and when they go out, they always let you know. So it's been a real pleasure. And we feel like we had another daycare program here, and it was called Liberty Boot, and it was essentially a daycare for French nationals, the kids of French nationals. And I speak a little French, so it was okay for me. But it doesn't. I'll be honest with you, it doesn't have the same feel as it does to have General Dragon upstairs, because it feels more like community. It feels more like people that we know. One of the parents lives right across the street from my folks' home, and we know that a number of the other kids live in the neighborhood. And they come with their parents. They don't come with nannies and au pairs. Not that there's anything wrong with nannies and au pairs, but it's different when we know that the parents who are bringing their kids are also going upstairs, and they're pitching in and they're helping out, and they're teaching and training up kids in the way they should go.
Right. Well, they have to come and help me in the classroom on a rotating basis. So they're very much part of how the school runs. So they have a big stake in it. But over the years, I've watched Gentle Dragon not just be a preschool, but it's also a really strong community, because the parents need each other at that point in their lives. They really need other parents. And it becomes a really nice support network. That's why you see more of them connecting, because they're down here washing the dishes. They're connecting too. So.
It's collaboration in its purest form, as a matter of fact. So fantastic. So Bill, I'm going to have you jump in here, because we've obviously been involved in entering into looking at thinking about all kinds of different collaborations. So if you could just talk about a few of the things that have been collaborative efforts for the community center, that'd be great.
Well, interesting. I had to put together an application for maintaining our tax exempt status with the city of Medford. And they had a form, and on the form there were like 3 lines saying, other organizations that use your facility to make sure that we're up. And I went, 3 lines. We had like 30 organizations that have used the building over the last year. It's remarkable. One of the things we can do with relatively small staff is make ourselves available to other organizations, because there's a lot that can't be done if you don't have a space to come and do it in. The Makerspace group that represented by Celia here. But also we have 3 Girl Scout troops. We have Safe Medford. We have the NAACP. We have Medford Walks. We have Medford People Power, which is sponsored by the ACLU to help immigrant rights. We have We have had an Alzheimer's support group. We are going to have a Parkinson's exercise class for folks who have Parkinson's disease. Right. We've had health screenings. We've had, we were able to facilitate what's called Hoops and Hope, which is citywide basketball league out in our back. It's just it's remarkable how many people can come through.
That's right.
We are also always open to, my personal feeling is that the best work doesn't happen alone. Mm-hmm. So if we can partner, if we can play with somebody else in the sandbox, the product will inevitably be better than if we try to do it all by our lonesomes. So both in terms of making the space available, but also actively partnering. Mm-hmm. Partnering with the Tufts Department of African American Studies.
Right.
Wonderful partnership where we have both done work and we have other work on the horizon of stuff we're going to do.
Right.
So both making the space available, but also actively partnering, because if we are, do a pitch in 2 weeks, the 17th, there is we are hosting a coalition to come up with active solutions for the housing crisis in Medford.
Right.
One of the other things is that we end up, right now, we kind of are like Switzerland in Medford, in that no one doesn't like us yet.
We're neutral territory, that's right. Yep.
So that
Absolutely.
people feel comfortable with us facilitating and hosting things, because we don't have a horse in the race, we aren't competitive, we just want to see good product.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And for those of you that don't know, we rent this space fairly liberally. So on the weekends, when there aren't community center per se programs going on, folks are renting the community center for bridal showers and birthday parties and family dinners and you know, meetings, business group meetings, and just a whole range of things that people want to do, but again, have to have space to do it in. And the community center has become that space. So the sixth person that we're going to have sitting here with us is actually the program director for the after-school program. But I know, Brian, you have been intimately involved with the after-school program from its inception. So if you could talk a little bit about the after-school program, that'd be fantastic.
Absolutely. The after-school youth club, now I believe it's going into its 6th year. In the first few years, it was basically run by parents such as myself. Celia and I have senior and high school kids this year, but 6 years ago, when they was in 6th grade, they needed a place to come and do their homework, and that's how it started. And when we got Bill, we went up another level, and now we have staff, and we have coordination. We have much more resources than we did before. So now, after-school program, I believe we have about 25 or 30 kids now. We have 2 floors available to them. We have the computers and the resource. The mayor comes down often, and we'll get professionals from all different walks of life to come and present to our kids and help them do their homework, such as myself. So I'm really happy that our program has gotten to the place it has, and we don't turn anybody away. So it's a really good program here at the center.
Yes, of course.
Just one more piece on the after-school program. It is aimed for kids between 5th and 8th grade, and the reason we do it is simply because those middle school kids, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, it is an incredibly vulnerable time in a child's development. It is a very dangerous time in a child's development as well. And while there are lots of preschool programs, there are lots of after-school programs through elementary school, there is very, very little available for that group of kids. So a component to our thinking is we don't want to replicate what someone else is doing. But if there is a gap, then stepping into a gap is something we take very seriously. So both in terms of the 5th graders we take, because they've aged out of it developmentally, they may be aged out of the after-school program for the elementary and the middle school kids. What I'm really proud of is that those kids have to choose to be here. And we've got kids right now who are in their third year. They've chosen to come in as 8th graders because whatever we're providing is working for them.
Yeah, very good, very good, very good. So let's see. Celia, so as we talk about the things that are going on in the local arts community in a place like the West Medford Community Center, as an artist and an advocate for the arts, in a perfect world, what kinds of things would you like to see happening at a place like the community center?
Well, I think short term, we think that Mystic Makerspace, so right now Mystic Makerspace is based out of the library, and in a year, the library is gonna be demolished to build a new one. So we need a new temporary space. So we're hoping, and we've been talking to Bill about this, that this would be our temporary home.
Okay.
So the jewelry class is kind of an experiment in that. So in terms of the makerspace, you know, just having a place where we can have a little storage and then have classes, you know, on a regular basis is you know, what I see what should happen in the near future, we hope. But as an artist, just, you know, I think the center already is for artists, right? I mean, you have your displays, there's you here, you know, just, but I think maybe another thing that would be nice to have is a place where where artists can just kind of meet and talk and share.
Yes, yeah.
And that would be great
what
thing.
you'd like to
Yeah.
see. Okay, all right. Well, another thing, and Celia certainly is a part of this on an annual basis, certainly for longer than I've been a part of it, is and Brian's been a vessel through which this has happened, as has Bill, is we've been able to get West Medford Studios back in the West Medford Community Center. And it's really, really meaningful because as folks are touring houses, small businesses, and a few other locations here in the community that are open to artists of all kinds, not to have had something like that happening here at the community center felt like a little bit of a loss. So bringing, and I think this will we're coming up on our 4th year of being back at the community center, and we've had poetry and music, and we've had, you know, the visual arts in here, and it's really been a great reintroduction of this space to the artistic communities in West Medford. So that's really one of my hopes as well, is that we're able to maintain that strong, healthy connection with West Medford Open Studios, because I can't envision 111 not being on that map anymore, you know. So
and kudos to you for making that happen.
Well, thank you. But yeah, so that's a great piece. Eleanor, I want to come back to you for a second because you started to talk about it a little bit as not only a luxury but also a requirement. You have as part of what you do in early education, you have your parents being an integral part of the teaching and training of their children. So are there some strategies that you could envision for expanding the interest that those parents have in the activities that are taking place at the WMCC, even beyond Gentle Dragon? And if there are, then how can we help with that? How can we help to engage those folks more in the life of the community center?
Well, it's interesting you brought that up because during the process of looking for a home, we also developed for the first time an alumni board. And one of the ideas that came out of the alumni board last year was tapping the talents that we have within our parent group, you know, going back years, as well as current parents, and providing parenting workshops or just different community type programs that come out of our great brain store. But it would be wonderful if we did pull that together to be able to have a place to
Oh,
to
that'd be-
have
that'd
some
be great.
workshops
Fantastic.
that we could lead.
Okay.
So-
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And on a similar plane, Judy, I want to come back to you and beside the yoga, meditative program as well. Are there some wellness things that you could envision happening at the community center beyond what you do right now?
Well, I think one of the benefits of yoga is that, as I said earlier, the pausing and the taking time to become embodied allows one to feel, to get a sense of home, that one is home within oneself. And, I could see that sense of home and belonging, which I think is the root of all problems in our culture, is that people don't have a sense of belonging or being at home. So I think it does begin with the individual, but I could see that expanding into having a sense of the community center being an extension of the home that we already feel individually.
Okay. Very good. Very good. I think we'd all like to see that. I know certainly with the elder program that we have 3 days a week, it's become kind of a touch point for a lot of the older folks in the community. This is a place where they come, they meet with their friends, they have a bite to eat together, and there's a lot of memories, there's a lot of the culture of the community, there's a lot of the strength of the community that's wrapped up in those, hour to 2 hour meetings where people come and spend time 3 days a week here at the community center.
Yeah.
So I can definitely relate to what you're saying about having a home away from home, in a sense of place here at the community center. Okay, very good, very good. So, Brian, this is a question that I have, because I guess it's something that I think about a lot in terms of, as young people are passing through the after-school program, how can we give them a greater sense of ownership? And kind of root them a little bit more the way that we were rooted to the community center when we were growing up here.
That's a really good question. Well, going back, when I was a kid that age, I used to come here to the community center in that vein. As a matter of fact, we used to have a summer program, and first program I ever went to, being like 5 or 6 years old, was here at the community center. And it's one of the reasons why I volunteered to be on the board of directors, because I look back at the experience I had as a community center when I was a kid, and it was completely positive, and I wanted my daughter to feel that same way. So yeah, your question is, how can we instill that in the other kids, right? And I kind of hope that's what I think we're doing with our after-school program. We're getting some of these kids to, when they think about the community center, they say, yeah, I want to go to the community center. Yeah, I want to have fun. I want to go do good and fun things down there, right? And it's kind of, that's the vision and the brand that we're trying to build here. And I believe Bill is doing a great job of trying to help instill that in kids, but it can't be done by Bill alone. Right? It does take a community. It doesn't take a single person. And so I believe if we keep offering the things that were offered to us, the things that were in your poem, if we have dances for the kids, maybe, if we do Halloween. I don't know if anyone around here has done Halloween, but we give out candy from the community center as if it's one of the houses, right? And we want the kids growing up here to have that same good, positive vibe that you and I had. It's the reason why we're here today.
Kind of, sort of. Absolutely, absolutely. All right, let me just see if there are some other places that I need to go. We have just a few minutes left. Bill, the future of the community center in terms of, you know, the kinds of initiatives that we're working on right now it's a pretty exciting one. I know that, you know, there are some things that we've been talking about getting done, some history projects, and some other collaborative efforts. You want to talk a little bit about the kind of the future of the community center?
Sure, and let me preface that by saying that we're rewriting our book every day. So we have a plan, we have ideas. We rewrite that book every day because someone will come in with a passion or with a desire or with an interest and say, I really want to see this, or I really want to do that. We thrive on that kind of input. If someone comes in and says, I really want to see a self-defense class, I'll help work toward that. So that's the first, is that we're going to rewrite our plan constantly. Having said that, some of the things that are on the table, we were gifted this last year with a treasure trove of photography from the area. A large piece of it was around the African-American veteran experiences from World War II. We are planning on producing a film and a community series on the experience of the black veteran because it is a unique and very special story.
Absolutely.
The arts, we're always looking at expanding on the arts. We want to expand on both what we do and how we do it. We're looking at solidifying the girls' basketball next year. You know, it's something Brian gets credit for. Another board member, Jarrett Lovett, was very involved this year. We had almost 300 girls.
It's amazing.
From Monday through Thursday. We want to strengthen that. We want to build on that. We want to build on that success. So we've got a lot of stuff. We want to expand on some of the STEM, which is the science, math for kids. A lot of that's being done, but a lot more could be done.
Absolutely.
We want to look at social justice issues because that's key to our history. One of the great joys of being here, I'll have to say, and these Words and Music series is a great example of that, is the marriage of social justice issues with the arts, where poetry and art, poetry, art, visual arts, music, can be used both to build community as an end unto itself, but also used to enhance other work that we're doing.
Absolutely.
We had the basketball tournament for Labor Day. We had a woman come in and do dance presentation for part of it, you know, which was great. Get the kids not just playing basketball, but dancing. Right. We did the Black History Month event this last year, which we included poetry, video arts, and gospel singing.
Absolutely.
So when we can combine those different disciplines for a single message, it makes it all healthy.
Yeah,
it makes it all more wonderful and more interesting.
Yeah, we do. We get a very rich product. If you folks will just direct your eyes over here to the yellow board and see this, you see the picture at the top, leaders in the military. Well, that's the kind of historical reference, photographic records that we received. Dozens and dozens and dozens of pictures like that. All black regiments, 372nd Infantry, and a number of other regiments that fought during the Korean War and World War II. So if we can do what we want to do with those records, it's going to be a beautiful thing to see. Okay, so we're right up on the end of our time, but I want to thank our guests this evening, our president of our board, Brian, our resident yoga guru. Can I say yoga? Can I say yoga guru? Does that work? What would you? What? Okay. Is it our yoga guide, Judith Scribner-Moore, Celia Lee, our resident mechanical engineer and jewelry maker, Eleanor Sugarman, our resident teacher of little people, and Bill Hager, our executive director. You've raised some very thoughtful and informative perspectives in tonight's conversation. And I hope that we've kind of raised the level of your awareness, both of the community center as a continuing hub of the neighborhood, but also as a place where the future is being incubated. A lot of resources are brought to bear when we do these First Friday programs, and I want to thank our sponsors for the evening. They include the law offices of Allen Pampinen, Tufts University, the Neighborhood Services Fund, the Medford Arts Council, and the Massachusetts Cultural Council. Always a shout out to Yvette Wilkes. She's behind the camera right now. She helps us get the broadcast on video and eventually available to both Medford and Somerville cable access. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for your attentiveness and your interest in our discussion. And I'm sure it's only one of many times when we'll talk about the good work that's being done here at the community center. But we're going to take a pause for the cause as we shift back to a lyrical groove and get into the heart of the music for the evening. As the technical team moves things around just a bit, let me more adequately introduce tonight's entertainers. We're delighted to have some good friends of the WMCC playing for us this evening. The band is called 12th and Vine. You'll see their little painting here in just a second when we move some things around. The band's led by Medford vocalist and fiddler. I love saying that word, fiddler, because she plays all kinds of stringed instruments. It's Janet Casey. Let me just you know we'll show them to you when they hit the floor. But Janet, okay, Billy Casey, who is the drummer for the band, and Janet are brother and sister. And when Billy and I were in high school, Janet was a cheerleader. My brother played basketball for Medford High, and all of us young boys, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, we had these crushes on Janet and Eileen Aurelio, right? So so that was those were our sexy beasts back in the day. But so Janet is here with her band, and she's going to introduce the band. But among the many roles that Janet fills as a working musician and music educator, she's the lead vocalist for Powder House Assembly, a good old family rock and roll band, as well as this band, 12th and Vine. She's an alto with the Tanglewood Festival Chorus, and a violist who has played internationally with a number of orchestras, including the Maggio Musicale Fiorentino of Florence, Italy. Janet also directs the chorus of the Medford Senior Center, and they've been here for a sing-along with my seniors. I'm going to surrender the mic to Janet. She'll introduce her bandmates, and we'll get this party started. Thank you, everybody. All right, don't go anywhere. The music's going to be the bomb, I'm telling you. You're going to enjoy it.